Live from the KMOV Broadcast Center in downtown St. Louis. This is News 4 with breaking news.
And right now, Powerhouse Sky Zoom 4 is above the breaking news here in North St. Louis City. I want to point out the white truck you see now hidden behind that bus. That is a Spire truck. Spire, a natural gas company. The one there trying to get around, it looks like he's kind of trapped in this area. That truck was stolen from Shrewsbury, we understand, from Spire earlier today, and they have been tracking it throughout the afternoon. In fact, it was about a half hour ago that we picked up this chase. It started in Collinsville. He made his way across the Musial Bridge into the city of St. Louis. Our Chris Negus on set with me now, and we're going to stay with this breaking news as it continues to unfold right before our eyes here.
Yeah, and Claire, as you can see, that Spire truck is now boxed in. You can see the bus there along with a couple of motorists. We don't see any police in the immediate vicinity there. Of course, if we widen that shot out, we might see. Now, as we said, we picked this up in Collinsville. This has now made its way back to North St. Louis. And when these chases end up on these city streets, this is where these situations become dangerous. At this point, this guy is following the traffic pattern, but we have seen this chase. It's been wild at times with this guy cutting across the grass and meandering in and out of traffic. And here we go. He's rolling through the stop sign here as we are overhead. And at this point, he is traveling at a much slower rate of speed than what we've seen. We know speeds topped out at 90 miles an hour earlier.
Yeah, more than 100 miles per hour, we understand he was traveling. An interesting note about this is Spire says that so many of their vehicles have GPS trackers in it. So they've been monitoring this car throughout the day, and then police were able to locate it near the Collinsville area. But again, as Chris mentioned, interesting to note, no police officers within the vicinity or very close to it right now. Of course, we've been in contact with St. Louis City Police, St. Louis County Police. We've also been in contact with Spire. Again, this truck stolen earlier today out of the Shrewsbury area in St. Louis County. Nick Zervos in the chopper for us, giving us a wide view as literally Chris starts to walk over to see where exactly they are in the city. Are you able to locate?
They're now approaching the SLU campus. You can see the church there on the left side of your screen, or you will. You see the fountain over there on the left. So it looks like he turned off of Compton. He is now, Lindell is where he's approaching here, right through the SLU campus. And obviously we had some breaking news in that area earlier today. And once again, problems in this area, but it appears this guy is currently abiding by traffic rules at this point. He's sitting there at the stoplight. He's not trying to go around anybody, but of course we're going to stay with this because we want to see what this is all about.
Yeah, it was about a half hour ago that police were able to pick up this chase. They've been monitoring this car throughout the day, and you think of the individuals in the FedEx truck right there, the gray car right next to him, not having any idea what exactly is unfolding. Indication something is happening. Obviously, with our chopper above them, you see the St. Louis University campus close to that area there and stopping at a red light. No indication of any police officers in the control room. If you're able to see any of the police officers, of course, let us know. No, they're saying
crossing
no one
over Grand right now. Turning there, and the thing about this, perhaps the police are taking a cautious approach here. Because we're in a populated area. This is where you've got all of these St.
Students?
These St. Louis University students, they cross the road right there. The last thing we want to see is somebody tear through that intersection or past that crosswalk where a student was recently hit. We don't want to have something like that occur. And as you said, Claire, Spire has a GPS system in these trucks, so we know where this truck is. The utility knows that, and you can bet they're working with the police right now, trying to figure out exactly where this guy is going, trying to figure out the motivation for this and what is happening. And we see he's crossing that crosswalk right there. That's where you see so many SLU students going to and from class. It's good that we didn't see the guy rushing through there. We're about to hit Interstate 64 here. He is coming up, and he'll have the option to get on going westbound and eastbound, I believe, at that intersection.
Yes, you'll be able to go, left to go eastbound. He'll be going right if he needs to head westbound. If you're not familiar with Spire, you see like the orange lines on the side of the truck. That is the sign for Spire, a natural gas company. Chris mentioned that they have been in contact and are working very closely throughout the day, the past couple hours, and especially right now as they've been tracking this vehicle that was stolen from the Shrewsbury area. We understand earlier today, not sure of an exact time on this, but again, no indication. When we see these car chases, oftentimes they're going at high rates of speed. They were earlier, he was earlier doing that, but when he seemed to hit the city, Brian, if I'm correct, when he hit the city area, he seemed to start to abide by the traffic laws and rules. Okay. Okay, my producer tell me here, it was just right about the time that we came on to start News 4 at 4 that he did slow down.
That's right, and it looks like he is now crossing over Forest Park Parkway there, quickly approaching Interstate 64. And I think it's fair to say, Claire, this driver was reckless within the last half hour. I mean, we saw the speeds this guy was going.
Swerving.
We saw him cutting across the grass there to avoid the police. And right now, the interesting part of this, we don't see any police in this video. If we widen out, we might see that. But again, maybe they are taking a cautious approach here because they don't want to see anybody get hurt. And they're going to know where this person's going because of that GPS. Here we go, Interstate 64.
Right there,
and it
turning.
looks like, yep, and this is what we thought might happen. This person is now using the auxiliary ramp there, getting on Interstate 64, headed westbound, I believe. I'll get a better idea right here as he's merging onto I-64. And this is where we've seen these chases ramp up to some pretty high speeds because you've got some open highway, but here we are.
There is that a police SUV there on
right
the
there on
left
the left
side. Look closely, or that no, that might
it
just
appears
be.
that's just
okay.
a pedestrian
Just
driving by. But keep in mind, Claire, we're going to start hitting some heavy traffic here, headed westbound on 64 in pretty short order. It's not going to take too long on a Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock here in St. Louis that this traffic is going to start stacking up. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. Will he stay on the interstate? Or will he decide to get off? We're going to stay with this.
What you might not have seen, Chris, and notice because it happened so quickly, right as he was getting on the ramp to get on 6440, there was an unmarked police vehicle, a white car that had its lights gone. So obviously there are police officers within the vicinity of this Spire truck that was stolen earlier today.
And it looks like we're crossing Kings Highway. I believe that was the Kings Highway exit. Yes, I think that is it. That he might be passing there. I might be wrong. Maybe our producers can let us know. I'm trying to read these cross streets as they fly by.
Right.
But again, he is coming up, passing Midtown.
Coming up to Forest Park.
Forest Park,
and
the Central
zoo.
West End. Kings Highway is right there. And it looks like he continues to head west. So he is headed out into West St. Louis. And in short time, he'll start making his way out into more suburban areas. And this, I could tell you from my own commute, is where you start to see the heavier traffic.
It's right around the time that you hit Forest Park, right, especially right near the zoo there. Well, he seems to be, Chris, no?
Looks like he is getting off here.
He
is
he's getting off the
exit.
Kings Highway right at Barnes Hospital.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if that's Kings. Oh, that is Kings Highway there. All right, so he is now headed toward the hospital complex. And obviously this is a very busy area as well. So here he goes.
A lot of stoplights here as he makes his way down toward the Central West End. So on his left side would be one side of Forest Park. On his right side would be Barnes Jewish Hospital. You'll start to see, and Children's Hospital as well, making his way through.
Yeah, and
again, not obeying. You went right through a red light there. You see the vehicles that were stopped. If you're able to see some of the lights, green light, keep going there.
And on any given day, there's going to be a large police presence in this area. So you know there's a lot of St. Louis officers around. I don't know if ISP is still involved in this at this point because, again, this was over there on the Illinois side. You know, the question at this point, how many municipalities are involved in this? How many state agencies? And here he comes. He is approaching. This is going to be the construction site of the new 100 tower, I believe. That's going to be on the right side. So you've got a lot of construction activity there. But again, there he is. He's abiding by the traffic laws. And here we go. Just going with the flow, trying to blend in at this point.
We just want to be transparent with all of you who are with us this afternoon. This is one of those situations we, of course, are going to stay with, but Chris and I are just getting information and watching it firsthand like all of you are at home. Our producers are talking in our ears. We're checking our emails here. And Brian, say that again in my ear. Okay, wrong button there. That's what happens. These are situations where we're just going with the flow. Chris and I literally standing here in the studio up close to one of the monitors. And, you know, again, if you're one of the individuals in the cars around this Spire truck, you perhaps might not know what's happening. He is traveling faster, it appears, than he should be going, but not weaving too much in and out of lanes, Chris.
No, definitely staying in his lane there. And again, he's going to be passing Forest Park Parkway, Lindell Boulevard, and then he would eventually be making his way back to Delmar. It looks like, he is turning right there at the site of the 100 tower construction. So you've got a big construction site on your left, and you've got some taller buildings, some residential towers right there in that area. But you can see they're doing a great job overhead, keeping tabs on this guy as he's meandering through St. Louis, on St. Louis city streets at this point.
Really in the heart of the Central West End.
Absolutely.
At this point.
Yeah, in a very congested area, a very busy area, and this is exactly the type of place, Claire, that police do not want to see somebody driving through in a reckless manner. So maybe they are hanging back just a little ways because they don't want to see that happen. And again, with that GPS, they are able to keep tabs on where this driver is going.
Obviously, Powerhouse Sky News 4 having a little bit of trouble. Our photojournalist Nick Zervos in the chopper for us this afternoon has been bringing this to us. We've been watching it for what now? Almost 45 minutes. A half hour before our show started, we were watching it in our newsroom unfold and really picking up speed as our video, our shot here, our live stream is able to come back. Really picking up speed as he goes through the Central West End.
You know, and what's really interesting about this, Claire, we don't know what's going through this driver's mind right now, but definitely erratic. And you're seeing him drive through these four-way intersections. Here you go, not stopping at all. You've got cross traffic going. You know, at one point abiding by the traffic laws, at the next point blowing through intersections. So it would be really interesting, and of course we're going to continue to work to find out what is the motivation for this. What's this person up to today? What's their mindset? Why are they doing this? And now reaching, it's fair to say, high speeds on city streets as this person is driving through St. Louis.
Brian, if you're able to, producer Brian, give us an indication if you're able to hear from Nick and where he's talking, where exactly he is. On the right
side, I believe that was the scene earlier in Illinois.
On the right side of your screen, that's what happened earlier. Left side is what's playing out as we speak. On the right side, video of the suspect swerving to get off the interstate 55 and 70 into East St. Louis. Again, if you're just joining us, we have been tracking the stolen Spire truck now for going on maybe 45 minutes. That's when police picked up this chase in the Collinsville area. This Spire truck stolen out of Shrewsbury in St. Louis County earlier today. Spire has been in close contact with police throughout the day. Interesting note, they have a GPS tracker in this truck, so they have been tracking this truck throughout the day. And you know, the last police chase that we covered here on News 4 Live like this, a number of police cars were surrounding the vehicle. This, Chris, is something different that we have seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this case, I'm trying to read the cross streets as this Spire truck flies through the city of St. Louis. And
yeah, it's been about 20 minutes that he's been in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, and for the most part on city streets. He got on Interstate 64 near the SLU campus briefly, took that westbound all the way to the Kings Highway exit through the Central West End, really clear through the heart of the Central West End, and is now making his way, it is looking like, and I believe he's making his way over to the north side here, but I'm trying to read some of the cross streets.
That's another thing to think about.
You can see a person walking right there in the intersection.
You saw the school bus that he just drove by. It's the time of the afternoon. A lot of kiddos are still being dropped off from the school bus. A lot of people leaving work at this time. You know, we are really knocking on the door of rush hour traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those scenes where you obviously don't want to see something bad happen. You'd like to see the guy pull over and surrender to police and end this thing peacefully without any problems. One of the things that I do think is interesting about this, Claire, because we've seen a lot of police chases over the years, but to see somebody who is at one point blending in and following the rules and slowing down as he is doing right here.
Right, what's the rhyme or reason?
There's no rhyme or reason to it. And then all of a sudden, well, here you've got a little bit of a backup, you know, traffic backup there. And notice how he's holding back. But this is potentially his way.
Giving himself room to go right or left to get around any individuals should he need to, should he get in a situation where he needed to do that.
Yeah, where he decides to do that. And at this point, we don't see the police right on his tail. Of course, we know that the police know where he, or I keep saying he, should say he or she, because we have not gotten a good look at the driver, and now making a U-turn, getting impatient there, deciding not to wait, and now going back the other direction.
I'm envisioning a lot of you doing what we're doing here in our studio, up close to the TV, watching this play. Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton just walked over to see what's going on. That's what's happening in our newsroom right now, as we are still working to make phone calls to figure it out, exactly calling St. Louis City Police, St. Louis County Police, police departments throughout the Metro East. They're obviously involved in this. It's got to be one of those situations where it's all hands on deck. Inspire, a big part of this, as they have systems at their company that they're able to track where exactly this truck has gone throughout the day, where exactly it is. So no doubt police know exactly where this individual is.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things, Claire, I've got to be wondering to myself at this point, does this person even know where they're going? Do they have a plan? Are they going to their house? Are they going to somebody's home? Do they have a place, an intended destination? At this point, it appears they're just driving around the city, until they're caught, because eventually this is going to come to an end.
Absolutely.
There is going to be a resolution.
Going around that car right there, weaving in and out of the yellow lanes there, so heading into oncoming traffic.
Yeah, this is now a very dangerous situation. I mean, this person is just, just erratic at best. And I'm trying to read, and I don't see a street sign there. Maybe they can give us a better idea as to exactly where they are, but these are definitely residential side streets.
Area. You see the homes on both sides of the streets here.
Yeah, and I am looking, and I am not seeing, a street name there, but this person is just weaving in and out of these city streets, trying to decide where they're going. I believe they've now made their way over to the north side, trying to get an exact cross street on this as this chase continues. But now going on what, 45 minutes, Claire?
That we have picked it up. Obviously, they have been tracking this vehicle throughout the day. So many more questions than answers at this point, including the fact earlier in the day, why was this truck stolen? What was the motivation for an individual to steal this Spire truck from the Shrewsbury area in St. Louis County right now? Coming to a halt, a stop in the middle of the street, perhaps wondering what the best option might be. No.
Now all of a sudden just deciding to go again.
Stopping again here. So we're going to stay right on top of this. We're not going to leave our coverage of this because we want to see obviously how this all unfolds, and in the meantime hope that everybody perhaps who encounters this individual stays safe.
And one of the things, of course, our newsroom is going to be asking, Claire, I am sure that our newsroom is on the phone right now, or at least reaching out to the marketing folks over there at Spire, trying to figure out, was this a crime of opportunity? Was this utility truck parked at a job site and somebody just jumped in with the keys in the car and decided to take off? What led up to this event? Of course, that's a question we'll be getting an answer to, hopefully over the next 30 to 40 minutes. And of course, we will let our viewers know the answer to those questions. And Brian, in our control room, I believe you had a cross street or an intersection. Just let us know. Near St. Louis Avenue. All right, so at this point, they've made their way over to the north side, driving there on city streets. This thing has been pretty wild, Claire. I mean, if you figure this started in Shrewsbury, we picked it up in Collinsville.
Right.
You see this thing on the interstate over there in the Metro East, crossing into St. Louis, into the Central West
Veterans
End,
Memorial Bridge,
the SLU campus. I mean, this person has been all over town. Maffett and Prairie right now. That is the cross street that this chase has now made its way to.
Yep, turning left, going in and out of streets, residential areas, business areas, the campus of SLU. As Chris mentioned, it was within the last 5 minutes, made a stop. We thought perhaps the individual in the car was going to get out. The one thing that I keep looking at is obviously the yellow cooler in the back keeps sliding all around. This was a truck that was out on a job this morning, and the individual was for some reason not near the truck, and somebody else walked up, got in, drove off. And they apparently tracked it throughout the day, but it wasn't until, I want to say maybe a little before 3:30 this afternoon that police really got involved in a chase in this. And we picked it up in Collinsville. It's almost like you need a sheet to keep track of all of the areas where this individual has come. He crossed the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, was in North St. Louis, headed to the Central West End, Interstate 44, Interstate 55, Interstate 70. So if you think of all of the areas that this truck has traveled throughout the day, and the number of police departments that are now involved in this, Sky News 4, Nick Zervos and the Chopper obviously keeping a very close eye on it, has been for the last 45 to 50 minutes.
Yeah, and Claire, we said this was near Moffett and Prairie, so that would have put this chase near the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club. And really, it's been near a lot of things this afternoon. And one of the things that we often talk to police about, what kind of measures do they take to try to bring these things to a peaceful resolution? Sometimes we hear about spike strips. That might be something that they might try to put down to blow this person's tires out to bring this thing to an end. Have not seen that yet. And perhaps it's because this person has been so erratic. Let's think about this. If you've got a chase on the interstate, we know that person is headed westbound or eastbound, and they might have an opportunity to get ahead of that car, a couple of exits up ahead, to throw those spike strips out. But in a case like this, all right, he's pulling up behind a dumpster here. Let's keep an eye on this. But in a case like this, here we go. Somebody getting out of the car here.
Getting out of the car.
And going for a walk. Doesn't appear that they're surrendering. Someone wearing just a number 3 t-shirt
Red
there,
t-shirt,
just deciding to take a walk there. And just casually walking, Claire. I mean, not in a hurry, not running anywhere.
Put the car in park.
Stroll
got
down the
out of
sidewalk.
car.
This is a firehouse right here, and I'm trying to see which firehouse that is. At least that's up, 3323. If we can get a street here, we're looking this up right now in the control room, but just taking a casual stroll right down the sidewalk there. So you've got to be wondering, is this person, are they ready to turn themselves in or just ready to walk home?
It might be only just Locust Street is what our producers are telling us in our ear right now.
And it will be really interesting to see.
Locust near Compton. That is where, crossing the street now. Okay,
Yeah,
near
so-
the Urban Chestnut Brewery, if you happen to be familiar with the area.
And so here we go. We've got police pulling
Police
up, and all of a sudden,
officers, an unmarked vehicle then pulling up, obviously.
and they've got
Officers
their
telling him
guns
to put his hands
drawn.
up. He's very peacefully going to the ground. Hands are up. 2 unmarked police vehicles.
And it appears this individual is surrendering to police. He does have his hands up, and handcuffs are now
Handcuffs.
going on. And they are bringing this individual into custody. He is on the ground, in the street. These are plainclothes officers
In unmarked vehicles.
that are making this arrest out there in the center of the street on Locust, again, near the Urban Chestnut Brewery, is
Locust
where
near
this is coming to an
Compton.
end. Well, Claire, I've got to say, this is a best case scenario, bringing this to a resolution. The individual driving the truck is unharmed. There was nobody
And
on
in
the
the
street.
process, there were no individuals around, because if you
That's
think
right.
of the number of neighborhoods that this individual went through, residential and businesses, the number of interstates that were traveled throughout the afternoon, and the high rates of speeds, I mean, we were obviously guessing, but at times believing before we started News 4 at 4 that perhaps traveling 100 miles per hour, maybe even higher than that. That's what we're hearing. Obviously now, police officers in uniform on scene as well. And Nick Zervos, if you're able to hear us in the chopper, if you're able to give us, or we can communicate with him, if he can give us just a wider view of where exactly this is, want an idea.
What's that?
Okay, I just was looking for some sort of idea how many police officers are here on scene. If we're able to communicate with him from the newsroom, if he can give us a wider view as well. Obviously, we see St. Louis City Police.
And Claire, we know from experience, there are going to be a lot of police there in a hurry. These police knew where this car was going because of that GPS tracking inside of that vehicle. And you had the officers, it appears, and we're going to confirm this information, but it appears that they were keeping a safe distance. They were keeping back because in a situation like this, when you turn up the pressure, that person might feel that they're running from the police and running through these intersections.
There's a lot that they
And
consider. The
that's
time of
where
day,
we-
the neighborhoods
exactly.
that they are in, how they chase. Just north of the SLU campus
Yeah,
is
so
what we're able to
obviously-
see from this vantage point. Obviously, a number of police officers also at the scene of the truck where the individual just parked it. We saw him calmly get out of the truck, close the door, walk maybe, would you say, Chris, a quarter of a mile before police officers then told him to put his hands up.
A quarter of a mile tops, and it looks like this individual wasn't all that concerned. It was a leisurely stroll down the sidewalk. They parked right
Past
behind a
the
dumpster,
firehouse.
past the firehouse, past a couple of storefronts there. And what
this
you're
is on the
seeing-
right
yeah.
side. This is what we were watching in our newsroom before News 4 at 4 started this afternoon. And that right there is an example of the high rate of speed that man was traveling in the Spire truck. We were seeing him swerve in and out of the lanes. There was a lot going on. So here's our game plan. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back, recap everything that we have seen throughout the morning, as well as hopefully let Steve have a little bit of time to talk. If not, we'll see. We'll get our game.